Welcome, guys, to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 134 here with Altai, joined this week by...
Omer. And that's quite a radio voice you got going on over there. You know, people have phone voices. You got the radio voice that you only do for the intro to the podcast, and you never use it again.
It takes a lot of effort. I'd have to take training courses to keep this up.
It's Altai ASMR voice. All right, you can lull people to sleep with that. All right.
$25 subscription gets you access to the ASMR stream. Thank you.
Nice. Altai will whisper dirty things into your ear.
All right, let's get started.
All right, hit up that weekly raid. We got a good one today. A very optimistic one. You know, we're usually pessimists here on the MMOs.com podcast. This week, we're looking at the good side of MMORPGs.
It's a little bit of a ambitious weekly raid. Hopefully, you guys have some input because I can't think of much. But here we go. Can MMORPGs be used for good?
Now, before we elaborate, we actually had a more absurd title. It was, Can MMORPGs Save the World? That was our original title. And we settled for, Can MMORPGs be used for good?
Yeah, Omar vetoed my original name and wanted something a little more down to earth. And let me tell you guys the journey of how I came up with this idea.
Journey. The spiritual journey. Let's hear it.
So Omar and I love Black Mirror. No spoilers, don't worry. But new season's out, Netflix, great show. But it seems like every episode is basically, this new technology is great, but it's actually evil. That's like every episode, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's some in past seasons as well that kind of that they touch on MMOs, right? Like VR, like Worlds or whatever, right? And it's always the same. It's always evil. It's always being used to kill people, ruin society. And it made me thinking, why does it have to always be that way? Why is it possible for this new technology, these immersive worlds, whether VR or not, can be used for good? And I start by talking about the recent craze of VR chat, right? And how basically, personally, I haven't seen anything good come out of it yet. It's basically trolling, joking, like memeing, just debauchery of all sorts. So that seems like a good Black Mirror. Black Mirror seems to be on the right side if what we see in VR chat so far is the way we go. But I'm curious out there. Do you guys have any ideas of how MMOs can be used for good? We have a few personal examples, but I'll let you touch on it first, Omar.
All right. Well, first, I actually want to look at this. I want to look at this article on Forbes, and it talks about a World of Warcraft entrepreneur's technology. How World of Warcraft, we discussed before, like, are there any examples of guild leaders in MMORPGs that like went places in companies? And this is actually pretty interesting because this guy named John Hagel III. I mean, first of all, he's the fucking third. Right? You're badass if you got a 3 in your name over there. He became the chief information officer for Starbucks, the youngest CIO of a Fortune 500 company at the time. And he was a World of Warcraft raid leader.
Wow.
And, yeah. Hagel said everything that Gillette need to know, Hagel said, he learned while becoming a guild leader in the popular online game World of Warcraft. And he talks about, needing to influence people, Guild leaders in World of Warcraft, quote, require a high degree of influence. So, we found an example of somebody that actually applied their MMORPG leadership skills to some actual getting a job and getting paid for doing stuff for a change.
I haven't read the article. Did his hiring process involve, like, did the recruiter or him mention his guild position, or was it like just a side thing? Like how involved was the did he go to college?
He went to college. He got hired right out of college. He attributed his success on the job and like what he was doing to his similarity with his leadership in World of Warcraft.
So it wasn't like the guy hiring him.
Yeah, because like, the guy they don't know about it yet. Not yet. Okay. Not yet. They don't know how to process these skills just yet because MMORPGs in the grand scheme of like human resources is still a very new concept, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And this kind of reminds me of something we touched on in a previous podcast where a guy was interviewing for a position, and he mentioned that he was a leader of one of the EVE alliances, and then he commanded thousands of people in battle, and his words were being translated into 4 different languages in real time, like the Russian fleet, whatever. And the guy who was hiring him, or at least interviewing him, was actually a member of one of the corps under his alliance. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But back to a little more personal touch. I recall stories, I think we've all had this experience where, sometimes in life, we don't really have like a goal. We wake up at 3 p.m. We don't know what we're doing. And MMORPGs can kind of fill that and give us a purpose for a while, right? Like, I remember when I used to leap out of bed at 6 a.m. in the morning on weekends so we can rush to the computer and play Ultima Online or EverQuest. And I know a lot of people in high school who played WoW like this. And we know a guy, he was basically a drug addict. And for the few years we played WoW, he'd play 12 hours a day of WoW, and he stopped doing drugs. And as soon as we all quit playing, he went back to heroin and OD'd.
Yeah. Yeah.
WoW kept him off drugs. Yeah, this is a real story.
He was clean for like 1.5, 2 years playing World of Warcraft all time. Not. He would be in our basement every single day playing WoW. He was like mega addicted, obviously, but like he didn't do any drugs because he was with us all the time playing video games. And he went home to sleep, and that was it. And like we'd play nonstop, and he'd play at home sometimes still. And he was clean. He was kind of a failure in high school. And like
that's harsh.
I mean, but when he came to us, all right, MMORPGs kind of sheltered him in a different way. Okay, I'm not saying his life was great with playing MMORPGs all day, but it kept him away from hard drugs, and it went downhill after my brother and I both quit WoW.
Yeah. And Penguin Powered and Chad has a great point. The double-edged part of this sword is I know a few people who dropped out of college or otherwise kind of stunted their adult life because of WoW and other games. Oh, Mono9122, thank you for those 100 bits. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. Handle with caution. MMOs may be addictive. It made a commercial for like MMOs, like the way they do for those drug commercials in America. Like the last 30 seconds is about the side effects. Don't play WoW if you have an addictive personality. Seek professional help before raiding. Otherwise, you may become addicted. That'd be fun.
Make sure you get tested for tuberculosis regularly, as it may worsen your ability to fight off infections. You hear that in every single one of those drug commercials. But obviously, I think we all know the negative side effect of MMORPGs and addictive behavior in video games. And a lot of that goes to not just MMORPGs. But let's focus on the positives because there are obviously many negatives to these as well. But I was looking for some actual academic papers on this, and I did find a few that support the idea that there are actual benefits for playing MMORPG. So this article I linked to you, it's on Science Direct. They actually really good collection of basically all scientific studies. You can search by keyword, and I searched via MMORPG, and there are hundreds of studies on MMORPGs. This is called the effects of collective MMORPG play on gamers' online and offline social capital. So there's a lot to digest there. But if you scroll down to the highlights, you can just read some of those out loud. All
right. Highlights here. Collective MMORPG play positively influences gamers' online social capital. Let's take this one at a time. So I guess what they're trying to say is people who play MMORPGs are better at talking to other people online.
Online, yes.
Okay. Collective MMORPG play elicits positive impact on offline civic engagement. That is a surprise
this one,
to me.
I am confused by this one because this is implying that people who play MMORPGs collectively as a part of a guild, that's what that collective means over there, some kind of group or a guild. It's suggesting that they have a positive offline civic engagement. I mean, that means they're voting more. They're participating in their community more, which is pretty insane. Like I never thought somebody who plays World of Warcraft or any of my Final Fantasy 14 guildmates are any more civically engaged than anyone else.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that either.
That was interesting.
Effect of collective play on offline bonding. Social capital is not significant.
That one gets shut down. People say that it develops your social skills. Yeah, it does online, but not offline.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Next one. Effect of collective play on offline bridging social capital is not significant. So same thing. Basically, your social capital doesn't translate to the real world. Effect on online social capital on offline social capital is not... Okay, same thing. So basically, as long as you stick to the chat rooms, your WoW time will be beneficial. All right.
Mm-hmm. And there's one other study on there, something a bit similar. There's a lot of other studies related to other aspects of MMORPGs that are all really interesting, but this also covers the social benefits and more specifically the effects of playing MMORPGs on for older people on their social capital.
All right, let's see what we got here. Highlights. Playing MMORPGs provides older adults many opportunities to increase their social interactions. Yeah, that seems like pretty obvious. All right, older adults have developed higher level of bridging social capital in WoW, but lower level of bonding social capital. Okay, it's a little what does bridging mean? I don't know. Number 3, enjoyment of relationships has deep impacts on older adult social capital in MMORPGs.
Yeah, and this is a study based on 222 older adults who are age 55 plus living in North America playing World of Warcraft. So if you're an old dude playing, if you're a lonely old man, MMORPGs are a great place to be, or older lady.
I actually had a very old gentleman in my WoW guild. He was a ranger, whatever the range class is called, hunter. Mm-hmm. And hearing him on voice chat was like one of the joys of raiding with that guild. He was just sound like the cliche cranky old man, and he'd He'd always be mad at somebody. He'd blame somebody. He was pretty slow. Like his DPS wasn't good, but it was just funny just hearing him like complain about other people.
How was his performance?
Bad.
As a
Below average.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I mean,
why didn't he get the boot? You guys were not try hard guilds?
we weren't that try hard. We cleared MC and a few bosses in the layer, Blackwing layer.
Blackwing layer.
Yeah.
But what is the oldest person you've played MMORPGs with?
Probably
I have
him.
noticed though.
Probably
yeah, like, we do see older people more so in MMORPGs than I think any other genre of like video games. At least from my experience,
definitely.
The average MMORPG player is definitely much older. Especially if you look at a game like EVE Online. Like when I play League, I ask people sometimes how old they are, right? And I'm always like the oldest person when I play League with people. But when I ask people like in my Final Fantasy groups randomly, like how old people are, I get much older answers on average.
That's treating the old man like a mascot. Well, he kind of was like the cranky old man of the group. I think we only kept him around because he was just so funny to listen to. But these studies are interesting.
Wow, one of my Final Fantasy 14 regulars was 60 older IMS. So a lot of people have experience playing with older, and I think MMORPGs are a good medium for that, because you can play MMORPGs at an older age where reaction speed doesn't become like the super most important thing. Because even if you're raiding, like even like the most difficult raids in Final Fantasy, like, you're talking like an older person is more capable of doing that than playing CS:GO competitively. Like he has a chance of learning the mechanics in a tough boss fight in WoW or Final Fantasy 14 more so than being able to aim consistently in CS:GO. The CS:GO thing is never going to happen, or League of Legends is never going to happen, because the actual reaction speeds are much different. Now, there's one more study on here, totally unrelated to, take a look. I mean, it is actually related, but I just found the headline absolutely absurd.
Okay, here we go. Motivational characteristics of Turkish MMORPG players. What?
Now, there's a study. I laughed when I read the first highlight.
Okay, self-determination theory, SDT, accounted for the motivations of play.
So Turkish people are playing Night Online for their own self-determination, right? That gives them some meaning in life to play Night Online.
I don't get it.
I don't either. I just thought it was absurd. But who is studying the motivational characteristics of Turkish MMORPG players? There's government money being spent on you're not yours. People in Turkey's tax dollars are going towards funding this nonsense.
I'm confused. I like the last one though. Teamwork has been given less importance in comparison to other motivations. So
Turkish people are not team players, and we can actually account for that with Altai. All right, he is the least teamwork worthy person you want on your Dota team. If Altai's in your team, if he loses lane, he's throwing. All right, he's out. He's done. He gives no fucks about you.
I can't help it. It's my genetics, bro. Look, I got a study backing me up. It's not my fault.
You have a study backing it up. Yeah, you're absolved of responsibility. All right. Altai is not a team player.
Okay, to talk about my personal experience, I think a lot of people watching, or at least a lot of people who were deep in MMORPGs like we weren't like the most social people in real life, right? I think that's fair. Like in high school, I basically for me, I turned my brain off until I got back home from school. Like I was kind of going through the motions, but I wasn't like really engaging in school or with like real life friends much. But it was really MMORPGs and online communities that taught me how to interact with people. Like in WoW, our guild always had drama. We had people like quit the guild, and like 5 guys would follow him out. The political dynamics and stuff. And that was my first experience dealing with like gossip and like group infighting. And I think an important part of like becoming an adult is learning to navigate those waters, because you're going to deal with weird people in your life, right? And you have to know who to kind of distance yourself from, what kind of friends you want to have. It's very important who you decide to engage with. And if I didn't play WoW and deal with those kind of people and realize this guild's not for me, this guy needs to get kicked out, if I didn't deal with that in a game, I don't think I would have ever learned those skills. So I'm glad I had the experience I did, with whether it's online chat rooms or MMORPGs, just dealing with weird people.
And not only that, I think being able to deal with weird people and sketchy people online is a much better experience than dealing with them in real life. And it's a much more low-cost way, because if you meet somebody in real life and like you kind of become friends with them, like, and you realize they're an asshole, it's much harder in real life to be like, okay, I don't want to talk to you anymore, right? Than it is in like an MMORPG. You can just kind of block them or just stop talking to them. And you learn to cut your losses with people online very quickly. And it's hard to do in real life if you know somebody. And not just that, we've talked about scamming in the past. I mean, Altai and I, our first experience in Ultima, one of our early experiences when we were little youngins, I think I was like 12 or something, we're playing Ultima Online. We spent all day cutting trees, skinning animals, selling our logs, our boards. We were saving up money to buy a house. this one asshole in Vesper, the town we were in, he scammed us for like all the gold we had. We had like 20K. We needed 40K to buy a house because that was what the vendor would sell it for. He's like, I got a cheap house for you, man. I got a deal. He's slick talker, and he traded us a book. And you could actually change the title of a book if you want, whatever you want, but it looks like a book. And I'm like, dude, that's a book. That's not a house. Like, oh no, trust me, it's a house. Click on it. You click on it, and the title of the book is like a house, a redeeded house or something. I'm like, oh, okay. He wouldn't be lying to me. He's on the internet, right? People don't tell lies on the internet. Like, dude, trust me, we're good. You're golden. You gotta get this deal quick, otherwise somebody else will buy it. Like, all right, fine, take all my money. And we gave him our money. We got scammed. And I honestly believe that taught me a very valuable lesson, which I carry with me today. Like the experience of interacting with assholes online and scamming, you realize people aren't always honest, and people just do what they can for themselves. And you understand, if you fell for that in real life, people do fall for scams in real life. They lose thousands of dollars. But I learned my lesson relatively cheaply. A week's worth of me skinning animals and cutting logs. But I think it's unbelievably valuable.
Yeah, it's surprising how many lessons you just have to learn the hard way in life.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you could simulate those hard experiences in a game or a virtual world, like it's better than having to experience them in real life. Like I know I have a lot of friends who are going to lose money in this Bitcoin mania. They got in late, they put a lot of money in, and then they're going to lose it all. But I can't talk them out of it because some of them just haven't had the experience of this kind of loss. So I really think you need to, hit that low before you realize, not to fall for it again in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you can read about it, you can listen to your friends about it, but until you have that personal experience, it's impossible to really feel it and learn from it.
Yeah. And yeah, in chat, a lot of people have similar experiences. That's good to know that we're not outliers here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fun times. So,
do you have another fun study for us?
While you're looking, do you guys think there's any future use of MMORPGs for good? So not like this, not the personal stuff we talked about, but like, could it be used in like prisons to like, I don't know, like get people to be social with each other instead of like shanking each other? Like imagine block cells had to do like 10-on-10 PvP matches, or like they had to raid together like against PvE like a boss. Would the teamwork make them like not shank each other?
I think if you were saying like in-house league versus like 5v5, no, they're just gonna yell at each other, right? Because like if your cellmate or the guy like on your team is doing shit, you're gonna shank that guy, so you get a new teammate, right? If you have one shit on your team, someone's got to bite the bullet and shank him and get a new reroll a teammate. But if you're talking maybe PvE experience, yeah, I think it could bring people together. It'd be kind of cool.
Like imagine like you're raiding, right? And like you're high-fiving your teammate because you guys did something, but instead of being like a high elf wizard, he's actually like white and you're black, and like you hate each other in the prison, right? Like different gangs. But then you go, oh, maybe we're not so different, and then you all become friends.
Ooh, deep. This is so we looked at an article about Chinese prisoners being forced to farm World of Warcraft gold. Now, as silly as that sounds, I'm pretty sure there's less violence in Chinese prisons than there are in American prisons. All right, I'm sure it gives them something to do, and I don't know. I think if people play more MapleStory in prison, all right. If prisoners are required to grind the MapleStory for like 8 hours a day, I think it'll lower their testosterone. All right, there'll be less violence for sure.
I think making someone play MapleStory for like 3 years would make sure that guy never does a crime again when he gets out. He's like, no more. I don't want to go back.
Oh, it'd be hilarious if judges pass sentences based on MapleStory grind. So like we're talking old school MapleStory pre-Big Bang, right? And it's like for this robbery, you are sentenced to getting level 110 in MapleStory, and you're in jail time. You're in jail until you get to level 110, which in old school MapleStory will take fucking forever. All right, for like if you commit murder, you have to get like 15 characters level 250 before you get out, which basically means life in prison.
That'd be amazing.
That if sentences in prison were based on MapleStory grind, that would be something. That's a good Black Mirror episode right there. All right?
Then there'd be like one like this one like 5-foot Asian guy who like just gets away with murder because he's just amazing at grinding. Like he knows the best spots, and he kills somebody, he gets to level 200 no problem, gets out.
He has a USB sticks with him that have like vac hacks on them and stuff. Please have mercy. Just grinding to level 250 in MapleStory is definitely something else, and it's got to be on the old school version, not this new age shit. Or it's too easy now. All right, back in the day, getting 200 in MapleStory would take like literally tens of thousands of in-game hours, and do it on multiple characters.
All right, I have a story that kind of bridges this. It's not it's they're trying to use gaming for good, but it's a really weird way to use it. All right, here we go, guys.
All right, go
I want to know what you guys think of this story.
Let's hear it.
The U.S. Army and Homeland Security are making a game to train teachers how to respond to school shootings. So there's this video game being worked on by the government of America. Basically, it's one teacher plays the role of the student with a gun, and all the other teachers have to be like teachers, and they have to like guide the students out, lock down the school. Isn't this weird? Like, it's only in America is this a thing.
Holy shit, dude! That guy sucks at aiming. Why is he not shooting that kid? Did you see that? Go back to the beginning. Did you see the kid's running down the hallway? This asshole with the gun literally just whiffed every bullet. This guy clearly needs to up his FPS game. All right, he got up his KDR ratio. Holy shit! Some whiff city. What is going on? This is so weird.
Well, I mean, to be fair, a lot of these school shooters are really awful shooters. Like, I always read the headlines like, "Oh, school shooting."
Look at this scene right here. This nonsense right here in this scene video.
I know what you're talking
we're off sync. I know, yeah.
But if you look at their actual numbers, this is pretty realistic. You know, these guys aren't trained Navy SEALs. You know, they're just like nervous kids with usually they're like they have no muscle or anything, so they can barely hold the gun. The recoil like knocks them around. So they only get a few shots in. I mean, I'm not surprised that.
I'm looking at this video too, and this rural teacher. Like, I feel like optimal players just jump out the window and get the fuck out, but they all run to the corner.
Well, you know what? I'm sure the Homeland Security has done their homework.
I can't believe this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe this is so necessary that we have to do this. Oh, dude, this picture, this lady who's the teacher is playing is on a Razer keyboard. She's a tryhard. You see that? She was on a Razer keyboard. She had the glowing keyboard, the glowing green.
Yeah, this is so sad. Every other country in the world has solved this problem, not through simulations of shootings, but maybe by making it harder to get like big guns like assault rifles.
I still don't understand
no
why
politics.
the teacher playing the gunner is just so bad at the game. Like, we saw another scene where the guy's walking with a revolver down the hallway and there's 8 kids. He doesn't even shoot. What are you doing?
You know what the best part of this is? If you read the YouTube comments, everyone's like, dude, does this have leaderboards? Is there a ranking system? People want to queue as a shooter and just see who can do best.
Oh, I got this. Player unknown school shooting grounds. All right, here's how it works. 100 people. One guy gets shooter. Like 90 people get students, and 10 people become teachers. and you just see the stats at the end. All right, see how long you survive.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is a game like that would get so much like social hatred, like it just wouldn't fly. But PUBG's okay. We kill each other. It's okay. That's a DLC. It's coming, boys.
We should have a ranking system and a leaderboard. That would be amazing.
Can I pirate this game? Can I do a first look? I want to play. I want to try.
I wonder if it'll leak. Probably.
I bet it's gonna be like so janky and like shitty. But I definitely would want to try it. It is such a bizarre story, though.
I agree. Twisty said he's surprised that people don't just tackle the dude. There's no way, dude. If the guy's got a gun, you don't want to be the martyr. Or especially because if you're like a 15-year-old kid, you're not gonna think to just tackle the guy.
Real question: what is he shooting at in that scene with the kid running? I can't get over that scene. Go back to that scene. I want to loop that scene for a moment. All right. Let's dive into the mind of this player.
All right, at the beginning, right? Yeah.
When he runs down the hallway, what is he shooting at? He shoots 3 times, and this kid in the hall. He's down to the left. I just don't understand what's going on in that picture. Have you never like played an FPS game before?
I think you'd be surprised. I've actually
this scene.
I actually watched like this video on the shooter, this like young white guy, right? He made like the suicide tape and everything, and he was awful. Like then there was like leaked training. There was leaked videos of him training at the gun range, right? Mm-hmm. And he had like the bottles up, right? He missed 100% of his shots. He shot like 30 rounds at a very close distance, and he missed every single one. And this leaked because it leaked after he killed himself and shot some people.
But I've never been shooting. I fired airsoft guns. Does that count? Is that somewhat realistic or no? Anyone's held a real gun, maybe. But I want to go to a shooting range. I want to see if it's this hard because I played PUBG, I've played CS, I've played Combat Arms, played all this shit, and that guy is fucking awful. All right.
I think the shooter is under so much like stress and like nervousness So I think I don't think they're like Navy
Well, yes,
SEALs
and-
going in there and like just getting the maximum number of.
I'm criticizing the people in the video game. Obviously, in real life, there's a lot more goes into a school.
Maybe they're
shooting, I
simulating
imagine.
the panic. I don't know. Who knows?
So every time I miss in PUBG from now on, I was simulating the panic of shooting another individual.
Actually,
right?
that's a good point. If a lot of people who don't play shooters have started playing PUBG for the first time, right? Their first shooter, and if you see they're so panicked. Like there's so many players on PUBG, new players, that when they hear gunshots or they see another player, they panic. They just like squirm around, shoot up. So it's definitely realistic to think, people would miss shots like that.
Whew, that is weird.
I thought it was a great story.
Interesting story. Now, related to this story, do you think MMORPGs will be ever used for like a virtual classroom? Because I feel like that's the dream for the Second Life and a few other games have kind of like toyed with for a while, like online learning, but in an MMO environment.
No, I don't think so.
Like maybe even a VR environment.
I don't think so because I think the kids who would actually need this are the kids who kind of like need help learning, right? Like they're not self-starters. And if you're not a self-starter and you're in a virtual classroom, you're gonna dick off. You're gonna like alt tab. You're gonna be on your phone.
Well, do you think it's easier to dick off? Like we have online classes today.
Yeah,
like
and
real
people just dick off,
universities
I
and
think.
schools. Yeah, but do you think they're gonna dick off more if they're required to be there in a virtual environment? Like if you're required to put the headset on and they can see when you're there, I think you're more likely to pay attention if you're required to self-learn on your own. Like I think you can bridge the gap between online education today and in classrooms today.
But how do they know your headset's on? Imagine you're powered it up, you put the headset on, then you kind of tilt it up and you're on your phone. How can they tell?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But even then, you could. But you're also more likely if there's no checks on anything when you're just doing online classes anyway. Just chat room usually.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a little better because, like I said, you'd have to tilt the thing up and maybe tilt it back down once in a while to check. But I think the kids who actually need it the most are the most likely to not pay attention. And the kids who are self-starters anyway will just go on Khan Academy or something and just do it now. Like, I don't know.
I think there's a benefit there for MMOs to do good right there. I mean, you can't have it like VR chat where people are allowed to have their own skins because people will be bringing like tentacle monsters into the classroom, and that's a no-go.
Skooma Party asks the relevant question here. Would teachers allow the use of Naruto avatars in class?
only if you pay like the tuition plus. Like college is gonna have like microtransactions, all right? The regular default tuition only gives you like no avatars, but if you pay the bonus, you can get custom avatars and other loot box and other crates. All right, pay to win's gonna happen IRL as well.
I just imagine the teacher trying to like get attention, like get the class's attention, like Barney, sit down, like Red Power Ranger, be quiet.
Oh god, that'd be great.
Yeah, but I'm actually curious what you guys think are some potential use cases for doing good in the world with MMOs. So leave a comment, and hope if there's any good ones, I will read them next week.
We read a lot of. There's been a lot. Oh, so another thing we kind of missed on was maybe not really like good in the same sense, but people get married. I think in MMORPGs and online like MMOs more so than any other genre of like gaming. Like we've heard so many stories about like EverQuest, World of Warcraft, 114. People get married in real life, and that's a level of commitment and engagement that you'll never see in like, you'll see in League of Legends because only the game is so big that some people are going to get married out of it. But I think as a percentage of players, like it's the most engaging kind of game.
Yeah.
So, and you get so invested in your character, it becomes like a virtual world. It becomes a glorified chat room. We've mentioned this before, but I think like the pinnacle of the internet really, I think has been just chat rooms. Like MMORPGs, Discord, like these are just MMORPGs are just chat rooms with extra layers. And people play and they get their meaning from these games because of the relationships and the people they meet in these games. So, I don't know. It's weird to think of that, but I don't know. The internet equals chat room, basically. That's the greatest thing that came out of the internet. It's just glorified chat rooms.
Yeah. I think games are just like kind of like prompts within the chat room. Like, imagine you're in a chat room and once like every 10 minutes, it's like talk about computers.
Yeah.
Talk about, like this. That's all based on a challenge in an MMORPG or like housing, raids, whatever. It's just like something to focus around,
It gives you something to bitch about, Like the latest patch notes. Fuck, my character got nerfed. This game sucks. Whatever. People like to bitch about that stuff together.
Indeed, it's definitely brought people together.
More so than any other genre, but I mean, and I think there's less toxicity as well in MMORPGs. You look at a game like CS:GO, BattleRoyale, League of Legends, Dota. There's a lot of fucking toxicity. People hate each other in those games. They threaten to kill each other. I don't think you see that level of toxicity in MMORPGs.
I think you do, depending on the game.
Really?
I follow
But
Eve.
why would you?
I follow Eve, and there's so much toxicity. Like this, like there was this. I talk about that guy who like his like fun room or something. He talks people into like ruining their life.
Yeah.
In a game. It's just so weird. So
I don't think you need Eve online for that. Like that guy's just a psychopath.
Maybe, but I'm
the
saying
mechanics in MMORPGs, there's less like investment into like one particular like event. Like if you lose a game of competitive league or like rank league, you get pissed off. If you wipe a few times in your raid in Final Fantasy or WoW, you just leave that group. You just try again later. It's not like this permanent loss to your stats or something.
yeah, but I mean, Eve does have permanent like stat loss.
Eve is more hardcore, yes.
Yeah. Okay,
And
so,
that's probably an exception. And Eve is less popular than other like the World of Warcraft, for example.
yeah,
Or maybe
yeah,
FF14 even.
Mm-hmm.
And there's drama and stuff too, but I think there's less anger. Like I've played a lot of MMORPG. I see less anger. People always like call people retarded and stuff like, but nowhere near the level of animosity in League. The level of just hate that flows through people's veins in games like Dota, Battle Royale, and League of Legends is insane. Like these people are like are sick. I love trolling them in response, but like I don't know, there's a lot of anger issues, not like competitive gaming.
You know what it comes down to? It kind of what we talked about at the beginning, where I think a lot of gamers, like the ones who play a lot, never learned. Oh, we got a subscription. Burning Mice. Thank you so much.
Mucho appreciated, fam.
But I was saying, I think a lot of people didn't learn common empathy skills. Like, if someone sees someone else fail to use their move right in League, right? Mm-hmm. They assume they would have done it in their position, but they don't remember that they also make mistakes. Mm-hmm. So like they project this like if someone else doesn't play perfectly, it's his fault. But if I mess up, it's only natural.
But you don't have that level of your mistakes impact me in MMORPGs. Yes, there are raids, right? And
in raids,
it happens.
Yeah.
But what happens in raids is it's less of a commitment. You can just leave.
Yeah.
You can
you can just leave in League like I do.
No, but you feel like you can't though because
I don't feel that way.
For those points. Okay, you're an exception, I think. Most people just leave a game. Most people when they lose a ranked game in League, they get kind of mad. Like I don't know.
But then that fault is on them. If you're getting mad in the game,
but League has fostered that environment. Like there are competitive mechanics in League that can happen. That doesn't happen in MMORPGs as much.
I really think though there's going to be a psychological.
It's a person's fault. I agree. It's a person's fault.
Okay, I don't want to leave the debate. I'm not going to justify leaving, but I will say this: if you ever find yourself getting like blood boiling mad, okay, in a League game or Dota game or whatever game, just leave. Yes, you'll take some internet points going down, right? But it's so much better for your psychological health and for everyone involved if you just leave. Take this MMA points or whatever, okay? Take the loss. Thai Cheese with that Twitch Prime. Thank you so much.
It's more than that though, again, because these things escalate. Because I feel like if you leave, you're kind of admitting defeat. Because like here's how toxicity always starts. Person A messes up, right? Person B calls him a fucking faggot for messing up, right? And like he tells me he's bad. Now person B goes back, checks up his stats on LOL profile, Master Overwatch, whatever website, and says, "LOL, you're Platinum 1 piece of shit. My main is Diamond 2. You fucking suck." And it just goes back and forth, and they're just yelling at each other. And now when these two are yelling at each other, all the people get dragged into this toxic nonsense too. The three other players in the team are like, "Shut the fuck up and play," and then everyone just yells at each other, and no one's playing the game anymore. And if you leave at that point, it's almost like that guy is still calling you a faggot. And if you leave, you admit defeat, and you are the faggot if you leave.
Why are you the faggot?
You have to prove to that faggot that
How is this constructive?
You're not bad. It's not constructive.
I like how I'm the bad guy in this situation for leaving.
Yeah, you're the bad. Don't fucking leave. You gotta stay. You gotta stay and fight it out.
Okay. Excuse me if I don't want to be a part of this shitfest,
It becomes a shitfest. But again, it doesn't happen in MMORPGs nearly as much because there's little reason to do that. Again, I've met awful players while raiding in Final Fantasy 14. I've met a lot of awful players. And like sometimes I'll kick them out and say like, "Why'd you kick me?" I'll say because you're bad, right? And then he'll be like, I looked up your stats on event logs, you got only these fucking shit stats. You calling me bad? Whatever, It never really gets bad beyond like that one sentence of rage. It's always that one sentence of rage and it's done. Versus League and Overwatch, people are just nonstop yelling at each other. My favorite is when somebody at the end of a game, whether it's Overwatch, League, they add you to their friends list, right? So they can keep talking shit, right? This spew of shit that they threw at you in game wasn't enough. They got to take it to the after game, and then people go back and forth for hours, just talking shit.
I've had Dota games like that.
Yeah, it's lonely, Chris. It's something else. You gotta stand your ground. Exactly. Look, if someone's to throw shit at me, I'm ready to fight. All right, I'm defending my ground.
The psychology is amazing. There are so many good
Yeah.
Dota games I wish I recorded for this purpose. Like, you think if League has these recorded, they're gonna be used in like future lectures on like just like juvenile
Human
psychology.
psychology?
Not even
Yes.
human, like untrained human, like juvenile psychology. Because I really think there are a lot of these people just missed certain phases of development in like school. Like either they like played games or watched anime all day in school, like we did, and they just never picked up on those social cues. Like they say, if you don't like learn to like speak in the first few years of your life, like as a baby, you hear language. It's just a lot harder for that part of your brain to develop. So I really think a lot of these ragers, or like these people who just get so angry over games, they just a part of their brain just didn't develop, like how to deal with humans. And just an amazing example.
And that actually goes back to our discussion about can MMOs be used for good. Yes, if there's ever like this treasure trove of data from just the league raging, because there's so much raging in League of Legends. If they can ever analyze that data and maybe get something constructive out of it, like how to like spotting like toxic behavior, maybe we can understand why this happened, study who's doing it. Maybe something will come out of it in the end. And I think Donna made a funny comment as well, but like in Hearthstone, it's a game where you literally can't talk to your opponent. Like there's no chat box, right? But you can still communicate via like spamming emotes at them, like a mistake was made, or you just spamming some bullshit emotes to them, right? And people will get mad over that. Like a game where you can't, there's no text box to communicate, and you can just mute them where you can't even see their emotes anymore. People like add you to their friends list afterwards just to talk shit. In Hearthstone, why? It's a 1v1 game, and there's there's RNG. You can always blame RNG anyway. It's so bizarre. I don't know. But what's surprising, I think, is a game like PUBG doesn't suffer from this toxicity problem. Like, yes, you have the weird cancerous lobby where people just say the dumbest shit, right? But when you lose a game in PUBG, rarely do you ever get mad. And if you get mad, you go to the next game, and if you get mad, you look at the replay, that was bullshit, I couldn't see him, well, what the fuck? And you'll stop after like a minute of, like self-raging. Like, it never gets bad in PUBG versus Overwatch, League, and Dota. And the game is so popular. So I think...
You might be right.
The game.
You might be right, and I personally don't have any friends who I know that get mad in it. But I'm gonna contest it just on this. Secondhand, I've heard people complaining about hackers in PUBG.
Yes, they complain. Yeah, of course. Everyone complains about hackers.
So I think people get mad because now there's so many hackers that even if they die to a legit player, they just get mad about it and blame hackers.
No, but you can actually check if they're hacking now, because when you die, there's death cam now, and if your whole squad dies, you can see who killed you. And if you die to a hacker, you can report them, and like you kind of know. Like the worst part is not knowing if someone's hacking or not. And I think the death cam in PUBG kind of got rid of that ambiguity for the most part.
Okay.
But I think there's still a lot less rage in PUBG. Again, it's amazing. It's still one of my favorite things about PUBG is that pre-game lobby of utter cancerous and meme bullshit. It is. I live for it. I've been playing a lot of PUBG these last few weeks, and I don't know. That's the highlight of my PUBG game usually. There's that nonsense that happens at the beginning, on the plane, everything.
I don't know if we touched on it last week, but speaking of PUBG, there's a beautiful clone of PUBG in VR.
Oh, share it. It's got a great name.
Yeah, the name of this game, guys, is Battle for the Last Chicken.
That is an A+ name. Only from China. Only from China we get a name called Battle for the Last Chicken.
It's basically a VR ripoff of PUBG, and they have the balls to charge money for this. It costs $5.
Now, my favorite part about this game is if you look at the Steam icon for it on the top, on the right side, you can see the guy in the VR headset sitting down. Do you see how many pans he got defending his junk? He's got like 3 pans. He's got pans all over him.
He has 5 pans. There's actually 2 below the 3. If you take a look.
This guy's got pan gaming.
Yeah, here we go. Let me zoom in on this guy.
This is Battle for the Last Chicken, guys. This is a quality China PUBG clone. I think PUBG really created like this chicken dinner meme. You were even telling me like they should open a PUBG themed restaurant that serve chicken dinners.
Good question.
As a pop-up shop at like PAX or something, they should do that. Yeah, like a little booth at PAX. Yeah, sell chicken dinner. PUBG themed.
If you were at a convention or a tournament for gaming, and there was like a food cart, and it had the PUBG banner on it and the character, and it said "Player Unknown's Chicken Dinners" or something. Chicken Shack. Would you go there?
Candies, some chicken legs, some rotisserie. Oh hell yeah, I'd go there.
Me too.
Blue Hulk would license that shit and make mad money.
Well, I unfortunately have not played this game. I don't want to pay $5 for it, but it is out there, guys. If any of you are curious.
This actually uses a good pivot to I think one of the most interesting read I've seen all week is the article you wrote yesterday about Fortnite being arguably or possibly one of the most popular game in the West. So go ahead and share that.
Yeah, this is a fun story. So in an interview with Eurogamer, the one of the head guys at Fortnite, first they bragged about their new numbers. They said that they're over 40 million players now, with a peak concurrent player base of over 2 million players.
That is insane. Over 2 million people are playing Fortnite.
Now that makes it clearly the top Battle Royale game in the West. And I know PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has over 3 million, but over 60% of those players are from mainland China. So the claim here by Fortnite was that they are the biggest Battle Royale game in the West, and that's undisputable. But the second claim they had is they may very well be the biggest game overall in the West. The only contest they would have is League of Legends, which, Omar, I think you had the numbers for how many players they have monthly.
100 million monthly active players as of their last update, and I actually add that to the article. And that's in comparison to this PUBG says they have 40 million players.
Fortnite has 40 million.
Fortnite has 40 million players. So PUBG's monthly active number is 100 million, but we don't know the exact split between how many players in Korea, how many players in China, how many players in the West.
Exactly.
So it is possible that it's up there, but my gut still says League of Legends is a bit more.
I'm gonna go with Fortnite. I think it's obviously League is bigger overall, but I believe League is super big in China and in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So over 60% of the players I believe are from those two markets. And I suppose it depends how they count. Like, is Turkey in the West? Because I know Turkey has their own server for League, which is kind of surprising.
If you look at the data right now, actually, you can see on Twitch. I mean, I find Twitch is an interesting proxy for Playerbase. It's not perfect, obviously, but number of people watching League of Legends right now is 190,000, and Fortnite is number 2 on Twitch right now at 96,987. So
Wow.
League is still like about double that, but again, a lot of that is due to Tyler One coming back and getting a massive audience. So I don't know how much how much, if those people could be watching something else on League of Legends. I don't know, but Fortnite is huge, and people kind of play down just how big Fortnite is. And the fact that it's free to play obviously helps a lot too. But I was mind blown when I read that there was 2 million concurrent people playing Fortnite, and it was the biggest battle royale game in the West. And a lot of us kind of forget that China is a huge part of PUBG, and 60% of PUBG's audience is from China, which is nuts.
Yeah, and there's actually been some pushback from the community. The community is really mad about Chinese players. Almost all the hackers are from China. The hacks are made in China. And a lot of players in the West basically want the Chinese players to just be, segmented to their own server, not be allowed to play on the Western servers. And I actually think that will happen eventually, because Tencent does have the rights to PUBG now, and I think they're gonna roll out their own servers, their own service, so that the Chinese plague will finally be lifted.
Take a look at this actually. PUBG is dominated by Chinese players. It's actually a chart from Bloomberg based on Steam Spy. It says China number 1. The folks at Bloomberg have some good humor there. Naming it China number 1.
That's pretty funny.
So look how many people are playing this game in China versus the rest of the world. And look at the US actually on that list.
Wow.
The US is like 2 million people, and China's over 10 million for this game. Right around 10 million.
Actually,
that's insane.
There was in an interview, Mr. PlayerUnknown, Brendan Green, he was asked if Bluehole was gonna basically segment the Chinese players, and he said no, it's not fair to do that. I don't think he was being totally honest. I think the main reason they don't want to do it now is because I think it would actually slow down how fast you can find matches. Because like you said on this chart, US has 2 million players total. And that's a sliver of their total population. So I really think they're worried about, the player base, looking a lot smaller if they just, get rid of China.
Yeah, because they would have to rework their queue system, because right now in PUBG you can play in third person or first person, 2 separate queues, and each of those queues has multiple separate queues as well, including solos, duos, tri-queues, and squads. So now the tri-queues, I believe, are the newest ones. Yep. You can play in squads of 3, and there are separate queues for that as well. And the game can do that because it's such a large player base. Again, thanks to this huge player base in China.
Yeah. So that's, how many queues? That's 8 different queues, right? So if there's 2 million total players. Now that's not concurrent. It's just total players in the last 2 weeks. If you split them among 8 queues, some of those queues are going to take a little longer than they currently do. Now it's instant. Everything I've done has been instant, no matter what time of day it is.
What I find really cool, there's an article on Bloomberg about cheating in PUBG as well. What I find interesting on that article is that BattlEye has banned 1.5 million accounts so far for cheating, which is a whopping 6% of the total community. 6% of the entire community was banned for cheating. That is insane. I still don't understand what is it. Why even cheat in these games? It completely defeats the purpose of playing any of these. Like, I don't see the appeal at all.
I've thought about that, and it kind of brings me back to my high school days. Here's a fun story, guys. Omar and one of our friends, I think it was Hyun, they were playing Counter-Strike together, and then I think one of these two asked me, "Hey, Aaron, can I borrow your account?" I'm like, "Why?" "I want to play Counter-Strike with Omar." I'm like, "Okay." So I let him play my account, and these two are playing. I'm like doing something else, and the next day I try to play, a different Steam game. It's like, "You've been VAC banned," and that was like one of my. That's a serious account, like I. I got so pissed at the time. I was like, "What the hell?" But people do cheat, Omar. Like, why don't you answer that question? Why do you feel the need to cheat?
I cheated once in high school on a throwaway account called Bill Cosby, and it was the most hilarious hack in the world because it was so obvious. Like your character would literally it was literally for like an hour, and I didn't even get banned while cheating. I got banned after I closed the game already. I think we did it for an hour and then we quit. I'm like, this is gay, and then we went back to playing normally. So I did cheat for an hour when I was in high school.
Yeah, this was Counter-Strike 1.6.
Even then, I realized I questioned. Okay, this was like fun for this was lols for like literally 20 minutes, and that was it. But people for 6% of the player base been cheating is pretty insane.
And to go back to that cheat hack for a minute, so the hack he's talking about is in 1.6, and this was like the most blatant hack. Like your character would walk around like this while you had the hack active.
It was amazing.
And everyone could see
hilarious.
it. Other players could see you just going like this and getting insta headshots through walls.
Mm-hmm.
Good times. Wait. Fortnite. Okay.
Cheating, and PUBG and Fortnite.
So, I think a question for you. I don't play Fortnite much. I have tried it, but if anyone out there does play it, does it have the same problem with hackers? From what I understand, this game is not out in China yet.
Well, maybe that's why there's no hackers. Or less hackers.
Yeah,
exactly. Out in China. I think you mentioned before that cheating was a part of Chinese culture. Maybe you want to expand on that a little bit because I think most people probably haven't heard that.
Yeah, I've read a few stories about this. Like Daniel Ahmed guy on Twitter mentioned it too. In China, they have a much different attitude towards cheating. Actually, Brendan Green himself in an interview with the H3 podcast mentioned this. In China, cheating is a much more acceptable thing. It's considered like a hustle. Like you got ahead, you tried harder. Like if you cheat, it shows like dedication.
You tried harder. You tried harder if you cheated.
Yeah, it's like don't hate the player, hate the game, and the game involves cheating. Like cheating is part of the getting ahead. And if you get caught, you took the chance. But it's not like they don't look down on you for that. Apparently, the same way they do in America.
That's so weird. And I've heard from people that done the business in China, like this culture kind of goes to business as well. Companies will always say, "Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. No problem. 1 week, we'll have it done." And even if they can't do it, they can't say no to like a business offer. Like they'll always say they can do something, even if they can't.
Yeah, I mean, this happens everywhere, but at least in America, the ethos, like the ideal, is under promise and over deliver. Whereas in China, it's no matter what the client asks, say you can do it twice as good and twice as fast and twice for half the price.
Half the price, and then you miss all those targets.
Like. It's more like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. If they can get like a deposit from you for like $3,000 for like $1 million contract, they're happy to take that $3,000 and run. That's $3,000 they didn't have before, So it's just a different. When we have a friend who does business in China, he's like a factory and stuff. So this isn't like just total racism. This is like we have firsthand experience of how awful it could be to do business in China.
4chan posts on the Chinese. I'll have to look at that green text later, Chaos. It's a bit lengthy. Bit of a wall of text.
But to quickly wrap this Fortnite. We actually gave Fortnite our Clone of the Year award for 2017 for how shameless of a clone this was. So, and the reason why is Epic Games, the guys who made Fortnite, are actually the guys behind the Unreal Engine. And PUBG uses the same engine. And PUBG was saying how they worked hand in hand with Epic Games on how to optimize the engine for this genre. And they thought they were doing it because, they were a customer of Unreal. So like, you work with your customer, if you're the provider. But Epic Games took all the lessons they learned, the optimizations that PUBG made, and they rolled it into their own game. So it was a little bit of a controversy there. But luckily, all the edits and updates they're making to the engine to support Fortnite will be available to everyone else making all kinds of games on Unreal in the future. So that's great.
Yeah, I think this also kind of shows the success of just pivoting, like. Fortnite as is was not very big, right? They had this, entirely different game basically, Fortnite Battle Royale is what really got 2 million concurrent users. The other game is like nothing. I mean, it just shows that if you see something big, just grab onto it. You know, there's a lot of money to be made, big audience to be made. Just grab onto what's working. Paladin has proved it with a free-to-play version of Overwatch. PUBG has done it with Fortnite, and it just shows that it works. You know, they're making a killing off this.
Yeah, and the sideline is a little. D1U12NO says, so if I get a wife from China and I cheat on her, she'll be okay with it. I don't think so. But in China, there's a big culture around keeping mistresses in like a separate apartment. And obviously, the wife won't like it if she catches you, but it's definitely more acceptable than I think in the West.
Mm-hmm.
That's always fun.
Pretty crazy. All right, we can pivot to something else now. Talking about good pivoting. Big news came out this week for Chronicles of Elyria, a game we've been a bit critical about, but it's worth mentioning because they actually just announced that this last week that they're getting rid of the SpaitalOS engine. So I'm going to share this article, and it's actually a pretty big news for the game for people that actually like Chronicles of Elyria. People are hyped for it because they cited financial viability as a reason for not using SpaitalOS anymore. But what makes this kind of I guess a big setback for them is back in the original Kickstarter, they actually quoted as saying that SpaitalOS was such a big part of the game. It was touted. It was the fabric that our game is built on, and was touted as being one of the core technologies that would allow the game to achieve scalability. This further reinforced my idea that this game is never going to happen. So I'm still negative on this game, but this is also this is definitely not a good sign for the game.
I think this. They said they have an in-house solution now, but I think if you read between the lines, I think what this is a massive scale back of what the game is capable of, which it's not necessarily a bad thing. It does mean the game might actually come out, but it obviously won't do the things it says it did. So it's like I think it's more likely to come out. It's just more likely to suck too. But because this whole SpaitalOS thing, it's a brand new engine. I don't think there's any actual games out that use it yet. There's one other big one that's under development, Worlds Adrift. I know you've played it. It was a buggy mess, right? Laggy, buggy.
Yeah, it wasn't very big. It wasn't. I don't think any big game uses this engine, SpaitalOS, just yet.
Yeah. So I think it's a massive scale back of the features in Chronicles of Elyria.
They didn't update their release schedule. They still say 2020 for a launch. Some kind of voxel alpha test is scheduled for the first half of this year, but it's a voxel version of the game, or at least some of their engines. But an actual release, some beta test will happen in 2019, and release will happen in 2020.
I'd love to show you guys.
Not optimistic on this one.
I'd love to show you guys a gameplay trailer while I talk about the game, but they might copyright strike this podcast.
No, these guys are assholes.
Yeah.
But actually, we got to pivot back for a second because I found an amazing article when you mentioned the Chinese cheating thing. Mm-hmm. There's actually a service in China that's becoming increasingly common. A New York Times article about Mistress Dispellers. Have you heard about this?
I have not heard about this. What is this?
Okay, so in big cities in China, actually, if we just read out the first paragraph, they do it pretty well. Use your soothing voice and tell us.
When Miss Wang, a 39-year-old from Shanghai, discovered texts on her husband's phone that suggested he was having an affair with one of his employees, she was distraught. I couldn't sleep at night and couldn't stop crying, she said. I was very hurt. She decided to take action, though perhaps not in the expected way. Rather than confronting her husband, she searched online for a, quote, Mistress Dispeller. Mistress Dispelling services, increasingly common in China's largest cities, specialize in ending affairs between married men and their extramarital lovers. So instead of leaving the husband, she tried to make the other woman go away, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, yes. But that's what the service does. The service tries to end that extramarital relationship.
That's amazing. So,
yeah,
like in America, right, or Europe, the first instinct of the woman would be to leave, But here,
or confront the husband.
Yeah, but here it's the other woman's fault. It's not the husband's fault. It seems,
Mm-hmm.
It's just a weird.
It's so
world.
weird.
Yeah.
For a fee that can start into tens of thousands of dollars, they will subtly infiltrate the mistress's life, winning her friendship and trust in an attempt to break up the affair. So it's so bizarre that look, the way these services work are pretty intricate. They will try to infiltrate the mistress's life, winning her friendship and trust in an attempt to break up the affair. It is absurd.
It is really weird.
It's an interesting service, but the name Mistress Dispelling just sounds like dispel magic. You can spell their casting. It sounds so silly.
Like the mistress is actually like a wraith that's cursing the husband. You have to do the right incantations to make it go away.
You got to dispel it. And this is the article in case anyone's curious. I thought it was a good skim.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's a real service. Interesting stuff.
You guys are born in the wrong country. If we were in China, we could have more mistresses, and then it's the wife's responsibility to make the mistress go away.
All right, let's pivot again for a second. I want to talk about your favorite topic, mobile games. All right,
Oh,
mobile games right here. Look at this. Look at this graphic for the. These are the highest grossing companies look at game revenue. There's one company that I'm pretty surprised by.
All right, let me see what surprises you. No. Which one? I'm surprised. I don't know.
Sony, because literally Sony's only really big mobile game is Fate Grand Order, and they're able to make enough money from Fate Grand Order to be one of the ninth highest revenue generating game company in the world. And again, that's basically off entirely Fate Grand Order, a game which I don't quite see the appeal of. I've tried multiple times, try to get into that, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I got a few buddies still playing that. I don't see the appeal personally. Tencent just has so many games. I feel they're on the top. Yeah, NetEase also probably has a lot. Supercell has two biggies.
People don't really know about NetEase in the West, but they are the second biggest game company in China. They're like a $50 billion company or so, about the size of Blizzard. They have in the West they have like two games, Crusaders of Light. I did a first look for it. I thought it was kind of okay. It had this very WoW aesthetic. They have that's probably the biggest game, Crusaders of Light, right now.
Have you played Fate Grand Order again since?
Yes, I have.
What is your thoughts?
I don't know. I actually specifically went back because they released Jack the Ripper. We gotta show Jack the Ripper again.
Oh my god!
So in this game, in Fate Grand Order, they base their characters on like historical figures, right? So you have like Gilgamesh, you have like King Arthur, and there's a character called Jack the Ripper. All right, and the Japanese interpretation of Jack the Ripper is not really the same as I would say the Western interpretation. And let me show you what the Japanese interpret Jack the Ripper as.
Wait, so is this I'm watching a trailer while you're doing this. Is this a turn-based game? Is this like a card? What is going on here?
But you don't show this game. They're anal about copyrights.
Oh my god.
Yeah, get out of there, quick.
Right,
go, get out. Don't show that.
All right. This is Jack the Ripper, guys. She's barely wearing underwear.
Yes. That's just the way I like my lollies. She is literally a lolly in this game.
Yeah, I don't know. This is not my cup of tea. That's all I can say. It's just weird.
I went back and I tried that. She's a 5-star in the game, and 5 stars like 1% chance to drop. And I had like 100 of the premium currency because you get currency for events and shit. So I played, saving up my currency, and I couldn't get the Jack the Ripper lolly. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm done.
Chaos Shield wants to know what he's asking for us to look at Japanese Thomas Edison. Do you have that one handy?
Oh, I will link. This is quite good.
Jacqueline the stripper. Yeah, I mean, maybe Jack the Ripper just translated poorly.
Yeah. This is actually even a better one. This is what the Japanese view Thomas Edison as. No joke. No meme. This is actually it.
Well, it's basically if Thomas Edison was Iron Man.
Look at this picture.
If Thomas Jefferson was Iron Man, maybe this would make sense.
Thomas Edison. You can see the light bulbs.
Oh, Thomas Edison. My bad.
Yeah, look at the picture on this one. It's really something else. This is how the Japanese view Thomas Edison, guys.
I mean, talk about cultures, guys. I really think like China, Japan, America are just such a different like world. Like we see the world so differently. I think it's underplayed actually these days. So
what you're saying is when we look at people, we see like people, right? Humans. Yeah. And when a Japanese person looks at people, they see anime characters. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Like
they view the lens in anime.
Like, you know what I'm imagining now? Like in a high school classroom, they're learning about the history of electricity, right? But their textbook is like a manga book.
It is actually like that.
Exactly. So they turn to the page with like Thomas Edison and Tesla, like AC/DC battling, and then this, on one side is like Edison is a lion, on the other side is Tesla as like maybe like some like lab coat wearing like evil scientist from an anime, and like they're just like dueling.
I actually think that their actual textbooks do have manga. There are versions of textbooks that are actually academic, and it's mangified.
There you go.
There's actually Francis Drake as well. Let me see if oh wow, I am more interested in who Francis Drake is all of a sudden. Altai, can you see why?
Wait, why are they making them? Why are they flipping the genders? I don't understand that part. Like, why is Thomas Edison not like a woman? Why is Francis Drake and Jack?
He could be a woman. Did you just assume that Wolf's gender?
I guess I did. Yeah, you're right.
Guys, I am much more interested in who Francis Drake is and his history now.
Oh my god.
Other pictures. Oh my. This is fake Grand Order, guys. This is why Sony is the 8th highest mobile game generating company in the world. All right. This game is making bank.
Well, there it is.
Tencent actually owns Supercell as well, so they own the number 1 and number 3 spot. I'm surprised Mixie is still on that list as number 5. They're the ones that make that pinball game in Japan. I forgot what it's even called. Have you ever played that?
Monster Strike?
Yeah, Monster Strike. There's an anime for that too.
Really? I played Monster Strike for like 3 seconds, and I was like, "What is this?" I'll try to find. I think we have a trailer for it on the site.
Sleepy Strike. I've never actually played. I've never seen Heroes of Mecha Storm. I've played a lot of Heroes of the Storm though. It's the most anime thing ever. I'll have to check it out. I'll check it out in the post game.
All right, so this game, guys, makes like hundreds of millions, if not billions, a year. It's basically like pinball with, not pinball, but like, I don't know what's going on.
Stuff is going on. Good things are happening.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Any other topics of discussion here?
That's really the big stuff. We got most of it. I think maybe we can end with a quality meme. Let me go and find that even though we've kind of been sharing some memes already. Here, this is a good one. I shared with you earlier on PMs. There, I dropped it in podcast chat. This is titled when somebody who buys a Founders Pack goes into your party or something for MMORPGs. When somebody who pre-ordered the Founders Pack joins your party. I think it's great.
This guy's got the epic skin going. All right, you know what? I have a story we can end on. A real MMORPG story.
All right, let's hear it.
It's a little depressing, but it's also a little uplifting.
All right.
Let me open it up. Okay, so there's a sci-fi MMORPG called Perpetuum that I'm sure very few of you
No one's heard of.
I'll play the trailer here where I talk about it. Basically, this game is shutting down on the 25th, you know? So it's going to be gone, but not really. The guys behind it, one of the devs, he says he's going to host it off and on his private server. And it's still going to be available for sale on Steam for $5, where they'll have a dedicated server mode, which means basically it's like a private server. You play single player by yourself. So what this means is basically, even though the game is shutting down, it's going to be for anyone who purchased it. It's available just to like see what's going on in the world, like to see. So the world will never be like disappear. You know, you can always see what this game looked like. You can walk around, and I think it's such a good way to do it. There should be so many, like even bigger studios than this, right? They shut a game down and it's just gone. They don't allow private servers. They don't release like the code or anything. But with this game, at least years from now, if you have the game on Steam, you have the files, you can just kind of walk around the world by yourself. And I think that's a good way to do it. It's a good way to send the game off,
The world is not lost forever.
Exactly.
I agree. Maybe it's nice, but that's rarely the case. They just shut down and disappear. And I think it's more possible with a small company like Perpetuum, like 1 or 2 guys own the game, and they can just choose to do that. Where bigger companies are dealing with a lot more legal bullshit. Like they have to write it off, and in order they have to fully close the game to realize the loss or something. If they keep it running, maybe they can't depreciate it. I don't know, some weird accounting mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, but I really think it's kind of like disrespectful to like the community and just history in general. Like for archival purposes, I really feel like these games and these worlds should be at least stored somewhere. Even if they don't want to run like the online part of it, at least allow people to download it and just walk around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyway, I thought that was a pretty good story. It's shutting down, but at least it's not disappearing forever.
All right, that's nice. All right, and with that, we should take to the post game. We can talk a little bit about Hyper Universe, which launches tomorrow. We'll see what you guys think about it. Spoilers, I think it's going to fail.
All right, well, we will discuss that more. Thank you for watching, guys.
Later for you.
See you later. Peace.